Hey, it's me, MLB. Here is chapter 134 of Gains, and this one is titled Heading Home. You smiled and shook your head, heading down the stairs as Kiri fell in behind you and Bakugo stepped up beside you. Bags in the back, Aizawa said, jerking his head towards the boot of the car. You all nodded and headed to the boot, with Kiri still trying to shield himself behind you. Kirishima, Aizawa called when he could see Kiri was trying to avoid being seen. I expect your homework to be emailed to me by the end of class today, otherwise you'll get a 0 on your paper. Kiri cringed and popped his head out from behind you. Yes, sir, he said meekly, metaphorically tucking his tail between his legs as he sheepishly lifted his bag and then took yours and placed them both in the boot of the car, then walked around to the back door to get in. Both boys got in the back seat, while you got in the front passenger side and buckled yourself in. Do you know the way, or should I just put it in the navigator? Aizawa asked you. It's okay, I know the way, you said confidently. Aizawa nodded and started the car, and then pulled away from the curb and you were off. Conversation was light and pleasant as you drove, but underneath you were getting more and more nervous, wondering if this was such a good idea after all. Do I just ignore him altogether and get the stuff and then go? What if he tells me to give a message to Mum and it's not nice? You wondered, thinking about how it would go seeing your dad after such a long time. Yin, Aizawa asked. Left or right up here? Oh, I'm sorry, left please, you said quickly, realising that you had disappeared off into your mind for a bit there and had missed giving directions. You felt a hand come around the side of your chair and looked down to see Bakugo's hand there and reached down to hold it for a second while he looked like he was scratching his shin or something in the back seat. He just wanted you to know that he was there and that it was all going to be okay. You tried to breathe a little easier, but the closer you were getting to home, the harder it was becoming to breathe. Finally, you rounded the corner to your street and pointed your house out up ahead. Mixed feelings is what you had upon seeing your place, and Aizawa pulled up out the front and turned the car off. I'll wait here, but don't hesitate to call if you need me, he said. Aizawa was a smart man. He could see you were starting to feel the pressure. He didn't know what the situation was, but just judging by how stiff you were, it had the potential to be not a good situation. You nodded and thanked him, and then you and your boys got out of the car, the three of you heading to the front door of your place, you in front and your scary dogs behind you either side of you. You took a deep breath in as you rang the doorbell and waited. You still had a key, but wanted to see if your dad would come to the door first before you went barging in. You heard movement inside, and then the door opened and your dad was standing there in front of you. He looked different, almost like a stranger. It's not like anything had changed in his physical appearance, but you had detached yourself from him so long ago that you barely felt any other emotion towards him except for disdain and mild rage. Hey, you said stiffly. I'm here to get clothes for Mum. He grunted, stepping back. Okay. Not even a, hi, how are you, I missed you and I love you? You thought as you stepped past him into the house, your rage boiling up inside you. You hadn't looked back at that point, just expecting that he would let your boys in too, but when you heard his next line, you turned around. Hey, who do you think you are? You heard your dad ask with sass, so you turned to see what was going on. Your dad had his arm out barring the way for Bakugo, and wouldn't let your blonde through. Oh, that was the wrong move, Dad, you thought, as Bakugo grabbed his wrist and threw his arm away with so much force it looked like his arm had been projectiled. Don't touch me, Bakugo growled as he stepped past your dad. Kiri too went to follow suit and your dad tried to stop him as well. Dad, they're with me, you said sharply. They're here to help me carry stuff. Still can't carry anything on your own, your dad bit back at you, and Kiri turned to face him. She can carry more than you, guaranteed, he said darkly, and the look of surprise on your face surprised even you. Oh, that was a pointed line, you thought, not realising that Kiri was just as upset and riled as you and Bakugo, but in his own way. Your dad shut up and Kiri walked past, following you and Bakugo into your parents' room and over to the dresser. Okay, we're going to need a box or bag or something, you said, trying to stay focused on the task at hand and not let your anger towards your dad get the better of you. How about that bag up there? Kiri asked, pointing to a large gym bag up on top of the wardrobe. Yep, that's perfect, you replied, and Bakugo, being the tallest, reached up and got it down for you. Thanks, he said with a smile as he passed it to you. You can't use that, your dad said from the doorway. That's mine. I will be using it, you said firmly, without looking at him, as you unzipped it and then opened the wardrobe door and started getting clothes out for your mum. Should I just take them all? You asked Bakugo softly, and he nodded. Yeah, clean it out. She's not coming back here, he said, and you nodded. None of this had been confirmed, but just with that one interaction with your dad, you knew that both you and Bakugou never wanted her to step foot in this place ever again. This love-barren, toxic house. You wanted your dad to be alone in here by himself, rotting in his own stench. You managed to strip the wardrobe of her clothes far quicker than you thought possible, and then zipped the bag up and slung it over one shoulder. "Okay," you said as you turned for the door, seeing your dad blocking the doorway. "That's the clothes done, but there are some other things that I'd like to take to her as well. Just tell me what you need, and you'll get it," Bakugou said as he stepped up onto your left, staring your dad down. "We're here to help you, Yin. Nothing's going to stop you from getting everything that you want for your mum," Kiri added as he stepped up on your right. "Thanks, boys," you said as you glared at your dad. "Mum deserves every good thing." Your dad scowled. "You don't need to take everything. She's coming back here anyway," he said. "Oh no, she's not," you scoffed. "There's no way I'm letting her come back here, to this hellhole." "You watch your mouth," your dad threatened. "Or what, bastard?" Bakugou growled, his palms crackling menacingly. You glanced at Kiri to see his reaction, and he had started to harden in places, his face looking very serious, but otherwise that he had a relatively neutral expression on his face, and you knew he was doing his all to hold himself together. Okay, step right up, step right up. We got tickets for Dad v Bakugou in the next chapter. Who's ticket? Anyone tickets? Yes. I'll some of my besties in the comments section have already got ticket polls open. Feel free to go to them to get your tickets. They're my front runners. They'll sort you out. And I'll see you in tomorrow's chapter 135.